What if I were to tell you that on my first practice LSAT ever, I scored a 148? You would probably think I had no chance of gaining admission to a top law school. Well, the reality of the situation is I scored a 148 on my first practice LSAT. I ended up with a 174, and I was able to gain admission to Harvard Law School, where I graduated in 2010. And that is why I wanted to take a moment to create this video to address the pain that you are probably experiencing right now as you prepare for the LSAT exam. Trust me, I've been there, but it can be done. How could I go from a 148 to a 174 and gain admission to Harvard Law School? And in this video, I'm going to explain in detail exactly how I was able to do that, in hopes of making you understand that it is achievable. Destroying the LSAT and gaining admission to the law school of your dreams is definitely within the realm of possibility. The key here is making sure that you approach and prepare for the exam the right way. And that is why I wanted to create this video. So a brief background on myself. My name is Mehran Abdullahi, and I am the CEO of LSATMax, a company I co-founded during my time at Harvard Law School in an effort to disrupt the outdated, inefficient, and not surprisingly overpriced standardized test prep space. I first started thinking about the LSAT when I was a junior at UCLA, where I was majoring in business economics with a minor in accounting. My idea for law school stemmed from the fact that my dream was always to attend Harvard Business School, but since I had never had a real job, I was trying to figure out a way that I might be able to gain admission without having to graduate from UCLA and then go work for 2 or 3 years before applying to business school. And since I had an extremely high GPA at UCLA undergrad, all I needed to do was destroy the LSAT to give myself a realistic chance of gaining admission to Harvard Law School. So the summer after my junior year, I had decided I was going to take the LSAT, and I signed up for a traditional in-class LSAT prep course. So I did my research, and I realized that these courses were extremely expensive, $1,500 for 2 or 3 months of access. But again, everyone that I knew had taken one of these courses, so I felt it was necessary for me to have a realistic chance of doing well or extremely well on the LSAT. So I borrowed some money and I signed up for one of these traditional in-class prep courses in hopes of taking the October 2003 LSAT exam. On the first day of my LSAT prep course, we were given a diagnostic exam, which was meant to increase my familiarity with the exam as well as to give me a baseline for my performance prior to my LSAT prep course. And needless to say, I needed a lot of help. Again, the 148 was probably inflated because I was literally guessing on the entire exam. I literally had no clue what I was doing or what the exam was talking about. Again, I was business econ at UCLA, so I had never seen formal logic. And I did not read for fun, so my reading comprehension and vocabulary left a lot to be desired as well. I still vividly remember walking out of that classroom that day and thinking to myself, I better figure out a different way to gain admission to Harvard Business School because this law school dream has just died. I was so lost, so hopeless, and again, I just remember thinking that it probably wasn't going to happen for me. But I had signed up for the course already, so I proceeded to attend my first lesson, and I quickly realized the crapshoot that in-class LSAT prep courses offer in terms of the instructor. My instructor was brand new, and while he may have done extremely well in the LSAT, he could not convey the concepts in a way that I or the majority of the class could understand. So what I ended up doing was searching for other classes offered by the same company, and I ended up finding a course in Irvine that had a far more senior instructor leading it. So I started commuting from LA to Irvine solely for the purpose of this LSAT prep course. Needless to say, it was extremely inconvenient and a waste of my time that I could have spent preparing for the LSAT. Nevertheless, the course was useful. It taught me formal logic concepts that I had never seen before and exposed me to the different question types that I would encounter on the LSAT. However, by the time my course finished, I was nowhere near where I needed to be to have a chance to gain admission to Harvard Law. I had improved from my 148, and I was in the low to mid 160s, again, depending on the day, which I'm sure many of you are aware of now that you're taking practice LSATs on a regular basis. Your score will fluctuate until you finally get to the point where you have mastered the exam and really understand the underlying concepts and foundations that they're testing on a consistent basis. So I clearly wasn't where I needed to be. I knew I had to break 170 to have any chance of gaining admission to Harvard Law School, so I decided not to take the October 2003 LSAT exam. I decided to continue to prepare until I was consistently scoring what I needed on my practice exams. However, I lost access to my course unless I was willing to repay. And I remember thinking how strange that was. I had just spent $1,500 on an LSAT prep course that told me it was going to prepare me for the LSAT. If the LSAT is testing a way of thinking as it is, and some students take longer than others, why would I lose access before I'm at a point at which I'm maximizing my score unless I'm willing to repay? And you notice that this has nothing to do with you maximizing your score, but has more to do with the company maximizing its profit from you as you prepare for the LSAT. So obviously I didn't repay for the course, but I continued to study on my own, because the key to understand regarding LSAT prep is that the only value of an LSAT prep course is to teach you the strategies and the question types that you're going to encounter on the LSAT. So you know how to proceed. How am I approaching must-be-true questions? How am I approaching strengthened questions? What is sufficient and necessary? What can and can't I do with sufficient and necessary principles? The rest is really going to be up to you. And the analogy that we use in LSATMax is that preparing for the LSAT is like renting a video from Blockbuster Video in the 1990s. It is not like the Netflix many of you are accustomed to today. Let's say you want to watch a movie. Well, you're going to have to get up off that couch, drive down to the nearest Blockbuster Video location, rummage through endless aisles of videos, find the video that you want to watch, rent it, drive all the way back to your house, watch it, rewind it, and then drive all the way back to Blockbuster to return it. There is no instant queue when it comes to the LSAT, people. The most important part of LSAT prep is the practice you are going to do on your own. LSAT prep courses' only value, again, is to teach you the strategies and what you're doing. Beyond that, you want as many real practice LSATs as possible so you can practice and hone your skills on your own. And this is exactly what I did after my LSAT prep course finished. Again, it wasn't a certain concept or strategy that was bothering me, but I couldn't get my performance to where it needed to be for me to break 170. Games were always my best section, so I needed to get a perfect on games, and my hope was to miss 2 to 3 per logical reasoning section and 2 to 3 on reading comp, and that would be sufficient to get me the 170 that I needed in order to gain admission to Harvard Law School. So now let's talk about how to practice after you have gone through your prep course. Again, because the prep course is going to introduce the concepts and the strategies, the formal logic. It's going to give you homework assignments that hammer home these ideas. But then at a certain point, you're going to turn your attention to practicing on your own. Now, the first and most important thing while you practice is to simulate real testing conditions. And that means taking real full-length timed practice LSATs. Okay? You only want to practice on real LSATs. Made-up LSATs are not helpful at all, so don't waste your time with any prep course or prep book that is using made-up LSAT questions. They are not of any use. Focus on the real prep test. There's 69 that have been released. If you add June 2007, that's 70 exams. That is more than enough to practice and hone your skills on. Now, again, you want to get used to the time pressure of the exam, so you want to take at least one full-length LSAT a week. And again, by full length, I mean 5 sections, not 4. So now you may be asking yourself, how am I going to take a full-length LSAT when the LSATs that are released by LSAC only contain 4 sections? Well, the experimental section is going to be one of the first 3 sections. So to make your 4-section LSAT a 5-section LSAT, all you need to do is get a section from another LSAT exam and put it within the first 3 of the diag that you're taking that day. Now you have 5 sections. In terms of that section, you want to approach it as though it's a real LSAT section, because it is. It's from a different diag, and it's going to tell you how you're doing on whatever section type that is and whatever question types you encounter. And again, on the real day of the LSAT, you're not going to know which section is experimental, so you want to approach all the sections as though they count. So you might as well start getting used to that now. Okay, but beyond taking practice diags, and again, taking diags in the way you would under testing conditions, 3 sections, break, then 2 sections, Again, the library is a great place to do this. Keep in mind that your test center is not going to be a vacuum. There's going to be noises. There's going to be people chewing gum. There's going to be people playing with pencils. So keep that in mind when you select your testing location as you practice. It is not going to be complete silence, so get used to having some background noise. Now, taking full-length LSATs is extremely time-consuming and it is extremely draining. So, one of the things you don't want to do while you prepare for the LSAT is burn yourself out. So during the rest of the week, a great option is just to take timed sections as individual sections. So instead of taking a full-length LSAT, take 2 sections in the morning under time pressure, take 2 sections in the evening under time pressure. Again, the key is practicing these strategies under time pressure. Whether it's a full LSAT or individual sections, you're still practicing this same concept in the same strategies, and again, testing yourself under time pressure. So there's nothing wrong with that strategy, and it's a great strategy to avoid burning out. Again, at least 1 diag a week, and if you're taking the exam, let's say Saturday at 8 a.m., my full-length diag on a weekly basis is going to be at that time, Saturday at 8 a.m., so I can start training my brain to get used to taking full-length LSATs at that time. During the week, however, I would focus on doing individual sections under time pressure. Now, just taking practice LSATs is not sufficient. If you're not approaching these questions the right way, you could take every LSAT that's ever been released and you're still not going to see any improvement. And that is why reviewing the work that you've done is just as important, if not more important, than taking more practice questions. So again, when you finish an LSAT or an LSAT section and the time pressure is over, the section is done, before you go and grade your exam, why not sit down and approach the questions now under no time pressure? And again, approach it methodically. What is the argument? What is the conclusion? What are the premises? Does this argument make sense? Can you explain to yourself why the 4 incorrect answer choices are wrong and why the correct answer choice is correct? If you're able to do this, the exam is going to start to click. And at a certain point, you're going to hit the point of no return, where every time you encounter flawed logic, you notice it. It sticks out of the page like a sore thumb. You're going to start watching news and notice flawed logic. You're going to be talking to your friends and notice flawed logic. This is how the exam is going to click. How was I able to go from a 148 to a 174? It was by methodically approaching the exam the right way. And I really can't stress that enough. And that is why I really wanted to make this video, to really hammer home that you can conquer the LSAT. You can improve. You can score extremely high even if you started extremely low. Again, you do not want to settle with law school. Law school is a huge investment of your time and money. Again, $180,000 at 3 years of your life. You want to make sure that you are maximizing your potential with the LSAT. And again, even if you don't want to go to the best law school in the world, doing as well as possible on the LSAT will increase your chances of merit-based aid, which will solely serve to reduce your debt burden upon graduation. And again, there's nothing wrong with going to law school. What the recent downturn in the economy should have shown you is that there's something wrong with borrowing $180,000 to go to law school when that law school is not going to give you job prospects that give you an opportunity to pay back the debt that you just took out for law school. If you're going for free, there's nothing wrong with it. And again, coming from me, someone who had no interest in practicing law, it was still the best decision I ever made. But again, I spent my time, I didn't settle, and I was patient with my LSAT prep. I was patient with the process and the sacrifice, even though it was extremely painful. There were so many other things I would have rather been doing with my time. It was the best sacrifice that I have made to date. So again, there you have it. Now you know exactly what you need to do to be successful on the LSAT. Again, it's not rocket science. The hard part is actually doing it, putting in the work, being patient, putting in the time, and understanding that how you approach your prep, how you prep for the LSAT is going to determine how you score on the exam. If you're not approaching your prep the right way, if you're not approaching the questions the right way, if you're not employing the correct strategies, all the prep time in the world will be completely futile and useless. So really focus on preparing for the LSAT the right way. I hope you found this video useful. Again, I made this video because this is something that is near and dear to my heart. I've been in your shoes. I remember how hopeless I was, how far away the dream seemed, and to finally get there was truly an amazing journey. It was very difficult. It took a lot of time, but I wouldn't have changed my approach to it for anything, really. So I really hope you found this useful. Best of luck to you on your journey with the LSAT, your LSAT prep, and all your future professional endeavors.